Good morning, everybody. This is Martin John. I got a buddy coming over today. I'm so happy. It's nice. I've been hanging out with a lot of friends recently. There's a lot of reasons for that, but I want to get into Tao of the Day. So the Tao of the Day, this program is revolves around the Tao Te Ching, which is an ancient text written around 600 BCE that's full of all sorts of insights on how to live a more reasonable life. And living a reasonable life, what I see as living a reasonable life is that we live a life in which we don't ask the world around us to change for us. We adjust and are able to find ourselves in what is in whatever way possible. So if like, there are times where we'll need to fight, there are times where we'll need to be quiet, there are times where we'll need to argue our point, there are times where we're going to have to do all of the things, all of the good and bad, there are times we're going to have to murder, there's going to be times like this time, like, if we look at murder as a grand scheme of, like, I'm killing animals or whatever to eat and other stuff like that. But there may be a point in your life where you do actually have to kill another person, and we have to recognize that if we are living our lives in a way that is in the moment, right? Not thinking about the future, thinking about the past, thinking about all of these things around us. When we live in this moment, what does this moment require? Regardless of what I've learned in the past, regardless of what I am wanting in the future, regardless of all of those things, what does this moment require? you know I look at Wim Hof as someone, and I've mentioned this before. I look at Wim Hof as someone who has taken that that leap into living a reasonable life in a way that is, he doesn't even ask the cold water to change for him. He will change to be in the cold water. If he finds himself in cold water, he will change himself so that the cold water isn't affecting him. Now that's beautiful. And when we could do that for all sorts of things, when we can do that for everything that we do, well, then that then becomes the way that we live. We then live in a way that is aligned with this moment, right? So that's a big part of living a reasonable life. And so the Tao Te Ching is full of sorts of insightful text on how to live a reasonable life. And it's full of these 81 short verses, and they provide all this kind of guidance on how to live harmoniously, how to live reasonably, how to recognize this moment versus what we're thinking. Of course, it does have some poetic language and other things like that that we might have to, you know, work around, but it's not this long drawn out text. And the reason that it's not this long drawn out text is because it wants you to interpret it, because every moment requires a different thing. And so when you are in this moment reading this text, you have to interpret it in a way that you need it right now. And so it does seem very poetic, but it also just leaves a lot of room. And this is in my practice when I work with clients and stuff. One of the big aspects of my practice that's built into it is space. So when I see a client, I'll see him for 4 sessions over 1 month, and then I will not talk to that client for 3 months, and then we'll have a follow up call. The reason I don't talk to them for 3 months is because they need time to integrate all of the things that I said, all of the things that they learned. And really, they don't learn a whole lot more beyond the first session. They learn a lot in the first session, but the other sessions are there to cement, solidify, and experience the things that they learned. So they'll learn all of this stuff, and then in the first session, and in the second session, they'll go in and they'll they'll bring up where those things that they learned came up in their lives, and then we'll address them, and then they'll learn new stuff on how to address them. And then in the third session, they will start recognizing how much they've changed. And then in the fourth session, we do energy work to solidify and clean up all of the little blocks and all the things like that. And that's what the Tao does, right? The Tao gives you some text, and then it lets you sit with it. The Tao isn't a book that you read from cover to cover, like in one day. I mean, it's only 81 short verses. Like, you'd be able to do that, but that's not what you do with the Tao Te Ching. You know, I like look at the Tao Te Ching as a book to use, although if you read it linearly, you'll get some different things, but it's a book to use. And how does one use the Tao Te Ching? Well, I have come up with a way that, and I've been doing this for almost 20 years, is just pick a number between 1 and 81, maybe every day, maybe every week, maybe only when you need it. I'd be driving people around and doing stuff, and they would tell me about their struggles and stuff, and how rough things are going or whatever. And I'd be like, you know what? Why don't you just pick a number? Why don't you pick a number between 1 and 81, and we'll read the Tao together, and then we'll go through it, and we'll see what it means. We'll see how it can help in your situation right now. You know, um, I have. Like, I've been going through, like, if you were listening to Kudos this morning when I was over on Cecilia's page, you'll know that I recently had to, build a boundary with a friend of mine that I really didn't want to build. I didn't, and it hurts me. It's so hurtful to have to tell somebody that you love dearly that, you know what, no, we're not going to continue this unhealthy thing, and I have to I have to stand up for what's healthy. So, oftentimes I've been looking at titles, and I've been working with titles rather than working with. This is interesting. I have a block here that I want to change. Bu- 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 bu. I don't know. Sorry about this. I am just I recognize that there is something not right about this text really quick. Um and then okay, that's better. All right. So I'm going to pick a number. I'm going to close my eyes. I've been looking at the titles, and I've been saying, "Oh, what title calls out to me?" But I want to look at a number. I'm gonna breathe. I'm just gonna sit here between 1 and 81. Sometimes I think of a number and I go, no, it can't be that. And then I'll go back and I'll think of another number or whatever, just because it's like I know all of these numbers, and sometimes when a number pops up, I have to recall that it's there. So 46. Oh wow, interesting. It's 46 degrees outside. So we're gonna go ahead. 46 is entitled Knowing When to Stop. When Tao is followed, shelter, food, and water are prioritized. Going counter to Tao, war, excess, and hoarding are praised. He who believes there isn't enough is cursed to never have enough. He who believes he must acquire will acquire nothing that lasts. There is no greater waste of time or energy than being discontent. Therefore, the master knows what is enough and is content to stop there. So recently, like, not long ago, I got a free 3 months or whatever, because I got Xfinity. I got 3 free months of Peacock, and I have been engaging in watching these, like, murder shows. These are like documentary murder shows, like Murder for Hire and Murdered by Morning and all these things, all these silly sort of, you know, like, interview garbage programming and whatnot. And I've been watching them, and, like, even last night I watched one before I went to bed. But I was lucky enough to turn it off before I went to bed. Sometimes I just set a sleep timer and I lay down and I watch until I fall asleep because I don't care about it. That's why I'm doing it. It's just a way to occupy my mind. And the reason I'm bringing this is because we sit here and say there is no greater waste of time or energy than being discontent. You would ask, well, aren't you content in watching the show? No, I'm not. And I'm watching the show because I'm feeling discontent. Right? I'm not feeling content, which is why I'm turning it on. I'm pacifying so that I don't have to live with my mind because my mind can get out of control sometimes. And so what I got to do, was be like, okay, I want to cancel my Peacock subscription. Well, I tried to do that, and it's all this like, you got to jump through hoops and stuff, and so I haven't done it yet, and I want to do it soon, and and I'll probably end up doing it today or tomorrow or soon, right? Like, mm, but the quicker I can get rid of it, and once again, this isn't about forcing it to be forcing myself to like, oh, I don't want this, and so I'm going to force myself to not have it, right? But what I'm doing is allowing it to unfold as it will. I know I'll figure out like what has to be done. Like it said I have to go onto this box, this TV box, and I did that and I couldn't find out how to do it. And when it gets frustrating, I just step away because it doesn't really matter. But if I would have canceled it 2 days ago, yesterday, I'd have been forced to sit with myself rather than watch another show. But that's fine. No judgment. It's okay. I'll watch a show. It's not bad. It was interesting, as interesting as all the other ones. And does it help my life at all? No, not at all. So I know that if I can spend that time every night, that hour before I go to bed or whatever, just sitting, looking out the window, drinking a little water, or just kind of sitting, not not consuming anything. And I can just be with myself. And that's knowing when to stop. Therefore, the master knows when enough is enough. That therefore the master knows what is enough and is content to stop there. I know what is enough. What is enough is just me. I am enough. And my mind is racing these days because of a number of things, right? Like because I had to build I had to you know solidify a barrier or a boundary with somebody that I didn't really want to do. um but something sparked it and I said, okay, well, it's got to be done and it's time to do it, right? Just like canceling this subscription, it's like, yeah, it's time to be done, and it may take a week to happen, but we have to I want to live my life in a way that when I'm aware of something, I act on it. And acting on it doesn't mean completing it. Right? When Tao is followed, shelter, food, and water are prioritized. Going counter to Tao, excess, war, excess, and hoarding are praised. See, so there is a difference here. It's like you could still focus on war, excess, and hoarding, but you recognize that shelter, food, and water are prioritized, and that's moving towards Tao. That's moving towards alignment, and that's where I am. Right, like I am. I have been going counter to Tao by excessively watching shows. Now, excessively, whatever. I'm not watching as much as other people, but this isn't about comparison. This is about me. When something is excessive, we have to recognize it's excessive for me at this moment. Meaning, I don't like that I'm doing it. It's too much. You know, I've been eating too much food at times. And that doesn't mean I eat more in a day. I'm not, like that. That's not what I mean by that. That may be what you mean by that. And when you hear like, oh, I'm eating too much food, that means like you're eating all day long. Well, I, there are times like recently, because I've been so frustrated with consumption, I've only been eating once a day. Well, recently I've been doing some gardening work and other stuff, and I kind of convinced myself that I should be eating twice. And it's not true. I mean, maybe one day it would be true. But then Another day, it might just be me eating a second time just because I think I should. So it's not real, right? It's not like that. That then becomes excess, and it's a story I'm telling, and I can recognize that story. But sometimes once you talk yourself into it, you can't get out of it. I know with addiction, like you might think about drinking, and until you tell yourself, okay, no, that's just not even on the table as an option. Until it's not an option at all, like you find yourself in a place where it slowly creeps in and becomes, and you do it and you do it and you do it again, and that's what happens with me and like eating and all sorts of stuff, right? Like what can happen is that um I will start thinking, oh, I need to eat a second meal, and then I'll go eat a second meal because I'm telling myself that, oh, I should, and I can't get out of the cycle of thinking that I should. And so that's excess. And I'm not prioritizing food. I'm making it an object, and I'm just like objectifying it. I'm just saying, well, I need food because I did this today. And yeah, maybe I do, but there are moments like yesterday where I didn't need to. Like I had eaten and then I ate a little more. And there was no reason for it. So knowing when to stop is a big one for me. And this continues. He who believes there isn't enough is cursed to never have enough. He who believes he must acquire will acquire nothing that lasts. That's a big deal, right? Like he who believes there isn't enough is cursed to never have enough. So believe there's enough. Know there's enough. Know you're enough. He who believes he must acquire will acquire nothing that lasts. That is true. If you have to acquire something, none of it is going to last. There is no greater waste of time or energy than being discontent. Therefore, the master knows what is enough and is content to stop there. That's my goal today. My goal is to know when enough is enough. There is no greater waste of time or energy than being discontent. Therefore, the master knows what is enough and is content to stop there. And I want to stop there. Speaking of which, maybe I should stop here. If anybody wants to pick a number between 1 and 81, please do step up, and I would love to chat with you about the Tao Te Ching. Once again, there is no greater waste of time or energy than being discontent. And being discontent means, oh, I need to eat more. Like, no, you've had enough. Like, there are times where it is true that you've had enough. Now, if you're hungry, that's different, but that's not being discontent. That's being hungry, you know? And so to lament, like I feel like I've been wasting my time being discontent about the fact that I had to make this choice. I have to, you know, I mentioned this the other day, the Lionel Richie song Easy, actually Commodore's song Easy. He says in that line, I wanna be free to know the things I do are right. Like, and the thing is when we sit on a choice that we made and think it's wrong or whatever, like that's the thing. We're not free. Like we made the choice. It's right. Move on. It's done. You're just wasting your time thinking about it being incontent, being discontent with that choice. What you're doing now, doing it. If you don't like doing it, do something else, but don't be discontent doing it. Like this morning, I was folding laundry and I was like, be here, fold laundry. But I kept thinking about things. My mind kept wandering. I just kept bringing it back. Fold laundry. Just fold laundry. Sit here and fold laundry. That's all you got to do. Therefore, the master knows what is enough and is content to stop there. And that's where I'm going to stop today. Thank you so much for listening to the Tao of the Day. And my number today, 46. Oh, we got someone coming on. Oh, wonderful. Johnny, it's been a while since we've chatted. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. How are you, Johnny?
I'm Good, Martin John. I'm sorry. You're just about to drop off there, so I hope I
No, no,
haven't.
no, no, no. I only, like I do these. I'll do my number, and if like sometimes I'll be on here for 15 minutes, and there'll be people coming through, but no one sticks around. So I'm like, I'm just gonna go ahead and sign off. But I always wanna, like I'm. It's not because I gotta go. It's just because like I got nothing more to say about like my 46. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you. It's really nice to speak to you, Martin John.
Yeah.
It was a really nice. I caught. I I think I caught most of your intro, but it was really interesting how you spoke about not Tao of the day, but about the format of your work, how you have. Because I've always been curious how actually you work,
Oh,
and
my client work. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yes, your client work, and yeah, so that's something I may touch base with you separately, because it was a really good yeah, it was really good because ironically I you have a book of e-quotes on your website,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I've tried to purchase them a couple of times, but
I wasn't sure who that was. Like, let's you and I'm gonna send you a message right now with my WhatsApp, and we'll get together on there. And I've seen that, and I was like, what is going on? Like, I don't understand why that's not going through. There is some problem, and I can't find it out. So if you could help me do that, that'd be great.
absolutely. No, I will definitely. I'd love to do that, and I will. Yeah, I'll talk to you about some other things, some separately. But
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, that should be really nice to touch base, and yeah, and talk about your other work. Um, it was really nice what you're saying about the other thing that resonated with me was I've been really big into this practice of just sitting still in sort of the evenings, just sitting by the Thames and just being still.
Oh yeah, you've
And
mentioned. Yeah.
yeah, and it brings up so much stuff. And it's been both um it's one of the favorite lines I have in sort of the Tao, whereas it says, do you have the patience to wait until your mud settles and the water clears?
Yeah.
Can you
Mm-hmm.
can you remain unmoving till the right action arises by itself? And
Yeah.
that time evening for me is so special, and it's really resonated with the idea that so many people have said, nobody can save you; you can only save yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
that kind of that's starting to be it makes a lot more sense to me now.
And
So
in my translation, it states, and I know the translation that you read, but or that you quoted, uh, can you be still, adding nothing until the mud settles? And that's for me, that's such a big deal because it's like, can you not add anything to this moment and just be here?
yeah, exactly. It is very much about subtracting, isn't it? Once you
Yeah,
subtract, and and that's just generally in life, we want to undo all of the conditioning that schools, religions, society, mainstream media has sort of imposed on us. We're trying
yeah,
to
we
undo
add
all of
all
that.
of that on top, all of those preconceived ideas. We just and
Yeah.
and and it's we add it, and that's what's important, I think, about understanding that, like, those aren't this moment, right? Those are all things that you got so accustomed to adding that you don't even recognize you're adding them anymore.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, there isn't, like, you add it before you even wake up. Like, it's already added. As soon as you wake up, you start recalling all of the things that are your routine and your ideas and your ideals and your morals and all of that. And then by the time, 8 o'clock rolls around, you're back to where you were yesterday, right? Having added everything, and then throughout the day you remind yourself of all that stuff, and it's great, like that you're spending this time in the evening sitting still, because you can become more aware of the things that you've been adding.
Absolutely. That is the key, isn't it? It's the awareness that
Hmm.
you have been adding these things so that these things have become second nature. But they aren't second nature, or they shouldn't necessarily be second nature.
Well, no,
So
they're learned, right?
yes, exactly. The other thing I've been doing is I've kind of been inspired by you
Oh,
is I've decided to I read a verse of the Tao Te Ching each day,
oh,
and
no.
I'm started at one, and there's some websites where you can read multiple translations at the same
Yeah, I,
time.
I can send you a link to that. I don't know if I have. It's Terabus has all of the translation, or many, many, like they have over 100 translation English translations of the Tao.
Oh yeah, no, that'd be great because I'm reading one at the moment. And it's got five translations, and the nice thing about it is that okay, the Stephen Mitchell translation, the one I quoted, that is very good. But what I
Yeah,
find,
it modern in terms of modern translations. It's really top notch.
yeah, but what I found, sorry, don't mean to use the word but, what I've also found is that I'll read the fight, say for one verse, I'll read the five translations, and the Stephen Mitchell verse won't speak to me, but another
Right.
verse, another translation will, and I
Hmm.
find actually Ron Hogan's translations, some some of his renditions are very good. They're very
Yeah,
simple.
I like Ron Hogan a lot. I use Ron Hogan, because sometimes things get a little complex, and
Exactly.
Ron Hogan does have, now his is, I mean, I don't know how I want to, his is very plain,
It
and
is,
I
yeah,
don't think and
absolutely.
I don't think all of his translations really capture the the depth of what verse is trying to say. And I think five translations is plenty, you know, because I mean, I used seven, maybe eight, to write my translation, and just because they do say different things, because they each have different things to say,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah, I
like
get. Well,
like
they each
well,
interpret it from their own paradigms and their own perspectives and their own. Yeah. So
right.
yeah, they different things to say. Yeah, I
Yeah,
hadn't really
as
thought
do I.
about that.
Like when I
Yeah.
look at my line of "Can you be still, adding nothing until the mud settles?" Like, so much of my work revolves around this idea of living under the influence. Well, that influence is an addition, right? And so when I write this and I talk about adding nothing, and can you be still and add nothing until the mud settles? Like, because I'm saying it that way, it's coming from my perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. That does resonate with me. Um.
Yeah.
Interestingly,
Yep.
I just kind of wanted to pop up and say hello and just say how much I appreciate your work and kind of make a couple of comments. And what I'll do is I will touch base with you separately about
Yeah, I
the
I
quotes.
sent my number for WhatsApp.
Yes, I've
Um,
got that. Thank you very
yeah.
much.
So you can contact me there. And I mean, I, if you'd like to pick a number, I would love to go over something with it, especially now that you're reading the damn one.
Yeah. Well, now actually, it's yeah, it's interesting. I'm very much one one of these people. I like to do my homework first, so I
Yeah.
kind of feel like reading,
Well, I
and
remember
actually,
like one of the first times we talked, I told you about like writing with my left hand and other stuff like that, and you had like looked online, and I was like, well, why'd you do that? Like, why didn't you just start writing with your left hand? Like,
yeah, no, absolutely, and that's also one of the things because you're a big fan of morning pages, and
yes,
or you
yes.
used to, and
No, I wrote my morning pages this morning.
all right, okay, great, and I'm also a fan, but I'm much more of, that is evolving for me. That
Yeah.
is, and again, experimenting with left hand as you said, and also I'm finding meditating first or just being still first, and then doing my morning, and then writing afterwards
Yeah.
is is kind of is something. But the question I wanted to ask was actually, have reading around the Tao, do you have any, have you read any of the books like The Watercourse Way by
Alan
oh,
Watts.
Alan Watts, yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
or
So I have it and I've skimmed it. I don't like research. I don't like reading, and I don't. I think Alan. I think the water. I again. I've had the water course way. I may still even have it. I got rid of many, 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 many books over the years, and I kind of want to. It sounds weird, but I kind of want to have a house without books.
absolutely, no, no,
um,
no,
you know,
I get that,
but
indeed. So I was,
yeah, so it's a it's not because I don't want to read and I don't want to be informed and but it's like I this moment, you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. So the other book I think was like The Tao of Pooh, which I
Yes,
think
I
is
have
meant
read
to
the
be
Tao of Pu. Yeah, both of those I'm familiar with, and I like I said, I may still have both of those books actually.
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I won't pick a
What number
number
are you
today.
on? I know you said you started at 1 and you're going through.
Oh, I'm up to 18 at the moment. 18.
18.
As well.
So is today
18.
18?
Yes, today would be 18.
Today would be
Okay.
18. Okay. Well, like open up your
And
translations
and
if you have it in front of you, and I'll read you mine.
and it's interesting. We've got 18 people online as well at the moment, or
Oh,
18
see,
people have
look
come
at how
through.
that works.
Yeah,
So,
okay. All right, we'll go with 18.
18,
Thank you.
I have entitled Out of Touch with Tao.
Okay.
Now, it's funny, I think I read this yesterday. When out of touch with Tao, etiquette is observed. When etiquette cannot be abided, we find excuses to make it proper. When excuses gut the family, chaos favors the hierarchy. When all the neighbors are in chaos, blind loyalty is demanded. It's so I did read this yesterday, and I read this. I don't think I read this on Tao of the Day. I read it with a friend of mine about some things that are going on in my life, and this was my Tao yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Um,
All right.
and we looked at this idea of etiquette, and if you drop off, please come back up. And I'm
Yes,
just
of
gonna
course.
tell you how I see this, and then I would love to see where this, how you see this as well. So etiquette is the thing you do because it's the right thing to do, right? Is quote unquote like you're supposed to eat your dinner without your elbows on the table. You're supposed to use a napkin. You're supposed to bring a host gift to somebody that is, hosting you for dinner or something like that, right? These are the etiquettes of life. And the etiquettes of life are there because there is a natural order underneath something, like men and women, or children and women first, right? Like if you're getting off if you're allowing people to go into a building, or if you're getting off you allow women first, you allow children first. Well, that doesn't come because we wrote it down. It is attached to a natural desire in our makeup to preserve birth and to preserve the ability to have children and to preserve all of that. And so we build etiquette off of natural desires. There are times in my life where, like I'll visit somebody and I won't think at all about bringing a gift. And then there are times where I'm going to visit somebody and I am so excited to bring something, you know? And it's like, hmm, which one of those events do I want to go to? Right? Like you start to recognize like, oh, etiquette is just a way of preserving something and fooling somebody. It's kind of a way of getting away with lying in a way. And I have recently separated from a very good friend. I mean, I could even call her a partner of mine, um, because I was observing etiquette and not challenging things that, like, my insides were telling me, like you don't like this, don't do it. And because etiquette was in place, I was observing the etiquettes rather than being honest.
Yes, absolutely. And I resonated with that when you spoke about it earlier. And I've been having a similar experience in that I
Mm.
think I was one of those people who, when I was out and about, I would happily talk to anybody. And I still do. I'll happily talk to anybody. And what I no longer do though, is that sometimes I would be out, I've got to know some people, and I realize that it's the interaction is very one way, and it's very much they're they're offloading stuff onto me, and my people pleasing tendency was, I should be there for a shoulder for them to cry on, or I should be, I should be supportive, this, that, and the other. And then I think I was doing my sitting, and I realized that, again, that is just etiquette.
That's right.
That is just a manufactured etiquette that I've imposed upon myself.
Hmm.
That that
And it's not their fault. It's yours.
exactly, yeah, yeah. Because I'm enabling it,
That's right.
and now I've realized there are certain individuals I was interacting with that it certainly wasn't beneficial for me, and maybe by enabling it perhaps wasn't beneficial for them.
Yeah.
And but I think the key was, I used to be of the opinion that I gave people the benefit of the doubt. And what I realized is I need to give myself the benefit of the doubt first before I give somebody
Hmm.
else the benefit of the doubt. So I need to be true to my emotions. I need to be true to my instincts and my gut intuition.
Yeah.
And if that's telling me, if that is then goes against etiquette, or goes against this perceived idea of society's etiquette, or some sort of or limiting belief that I've imposed upon myself, then I need to challenge that limiting belief, and I need to
Yeah.
start listening to sort of my heart.
Yeah.
And and as and and as people say, taking care of yourself or putting yourself first is not selfish. It's a very
No.
self-loving.
Yeah.
And it just, in terms of society though, in terms of etiquette, it can sometimes be perceived that way. But I sorry, I didn't want to use the word, but I also resonated with what you said, that a lot of etiquette comes out of natural desire. And that in that way, I think there's both, maybe I'm not sure if to use the word good and bad etiquette, but there's
Right.
beneficial and there's non-beneficial etiquette. and I think putting women and children first is a beneficial etiquette. Or it's,
But if we stepped away from our, if we as men, whatever, or as society, step away from our ego and desire to, you know, have it all for ourselves, it's not that the etiquette would go away. It's not good etiquette. Like, the thing is, the only reason the etiquette is needed is because we're realizing people are afraid. Well, why are people afraid? Because we're instilling fear in people. We want people to buy products, so we make them afraid of death. We have done that artificially. And so now, like, there's a verse in, again, it's translated in my Tao this way, so you won't find it in the other one. I don't know if it's written this way, but it's like, we're not born to be afraid to die. I mean, we're not afraid to die. It's what we're born to do. There's
yes,
nothing here, right? Like, that we should be afraid of. But when you instill fear, that's when you need to instill etiquette, because the fear is overriding a natural thing that happens. And so you need etiquette to remind people, even though we're telling you be afraid to die, this is a moment you have to let that go. So that's a big, that's there's a whole system around getting us separated from Tao. And we
yeah,
build etiquette because in separating us from Tao, we fucked it up.
yeah,
And it's not okay. And when this goes on, when etiquette cannot be abided, we find excuses to make it proper. We go back to say it's okay. It's like, oh, like, you can't, um you didn't bring a gift. Well, I didn't want to, or you're not worth it, or you're not this, or I'm the victim, or da 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 da, all of a sudden. Right? So we find excuses to make it okay that we didn't abide by the etiquette.
yeah.
So
It's
this is
really
this is about the dissolving of it all. Go on.
sorry. Yeah, I've just been quite taken by what you said. We weren't born to be afraid,
Right.
and we shouldn't be. We shouldn't be afraid to die because that is what we're here to do.
Right.
And or that's that is an inevitable outcome of sort of our time here.
Hmm.
And etiquette is a I'm trying to etiquette kind of gives us like a false sense of security.
Oh yeah.
It's it does it's not true, but it's this pretend that by following etiquette you'll be safe and you won't have
That's
to
right.
be afraid.
Yeah.
But it's all but that's yeah, it's just I don't know, that's really resonating with me. I get
Yeah.
I
So I had a I recently, within the last year or so, got yelled at for not abiding etiquette.
excellent.
And I
Hey,
was
I think that's great.
I was I was with my partner at the time, and we went out to dinner with, or lunch or whatever it was, with her two friends. And one of her friends, like, had, um I think, asked, like, outright asked, if he could tell a story about something. And I said, he can tell me why. He's like, I'm gonna tell you why this or this. And I said, I really don't care. And it was very much like, it doesn't matter to me that there's a reason behind this, you know.
Hmm.
And and I was just like, oh, you can say it, but my response to the question is that I don't care. And he responded, well, I'm going to tell you anyway. And I was like, fine. and I listened.
Well, you just said you don't care, so
Right.
it's yeah, exactly. But he
Whatever.
didn't hear that. That's not what he heard.
Well,
He
or if it
actually,
was what he heard that I didn't care if he told me or not, and he told me. It's all fine. There was
yeah, that's
nothing.
fine,
There
absolutely.
was no animosity. There was no anger. There was no anything.
Oh, that's good.
And for the next 6 hours, and mentioned multiple times later, was the fact that like I said that. Like, how could you do that? Like, how horrible that is. But it's like, like I I learned at that moment that like, oh, like this person, like I gotta uphold some etiquette that I don't believe in, and they don't believe in me. In this way of just like they don't believe that I'm making the right choices for me.
Yes, exactly. And well, they don't
And
respect you, yeah, that you're making for
well, yeah,
yourself.
they don't. It's really hard to like see that it's like, and I understand. It's like I'm trying to introduce you to a friend. If I told one of your friends that, would you be upset? And I was like, well, it's different if you are going to go out of your way to say that to someone. That's just as bad as holding on to etiquette. Like, right, telling a story that this is the way I want to respond before the response comes, because I didn't think about that response. It just came out because I was
Yeah,
trying to just be present and listen. It wasn't like, even though I was meeting them for the first time, it wasn't about me. They were having their like, weekly lunch, and they were talking about things that I had no idea about. And and they were doing a lot of complaining and doing a lot of like this, and I was just like, I don't want to engage in that. And so when he asked me, this is why we're complaining about this, I was like, I don't care why you can complain. You can complain all you want. I'm not going to engage in it, because and I'm glad that I don't, and I am glad that I didn't.
yeah,
But again, like, that then taught me, oh, with this person, like, you're going to need to hold up some etiquette. You're going to need to let them like have their etiquette. And that was, probably one of the things that started to dissolve that, all of like all of that, because it's like, well, I can't be me, and I'm being asked to not be me, and so, like, in order for that to get reestablished, and in order for me to remember who I am, so that I'm not afraid to be me, I need to step away from that.
yeah. It was interesting. I was thinking, um, I'm starting to perceive myself as a little bit more of a rebel because I'm not happy to go along with so-called etiquette and
Sure.
other people's views and ideas and opinions. And but actually, even even by perceiving myself as, well, a little bit of a rebel, that's I'd rather be in sort of the place where I don't care. So
Right.
I don't want to take an opposite view. I just don't want to. I want to. Is this aligned with uh, what my heart is telling me?
Right.
And if it is, then great. If it's not, then it's not for me. And
Well, if it's not, you
I'm pretty,
observe it.
yeah.
Right?
You
Just like
observe it,
at night,
or
you like,
you,
oh, you observe it. You say, that's not right for me. Well, what is?
yeah,
Like, what? How do I want to adjust that? It doesn't mean that there is a right. It just means that, oh, I did something I didn't like that I did.
yeah. I've done plenty of that. Yeah.
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 And I talk a lot about that idea of like, and uh, do you like that you're doing this thing? It's not like, do you like doing it? Do you like that you're doing it? That's a big shift in that question.
Can you repeat that just before we
Yeah.
finish up?
The question, instead of do you like doing it, do you like that you're doing it?
Oh, I see.
You know? And then what would you like having done, differently? What would you like to have done? And then it's like, oh, this is the best me.
Well, there's some wonderful.
Oh, you can come back up. We didn't quite finish 18, going back over it, but yeah, that's a question that I talk about in my workshop, and I think that quote is in the book of quotes that you keep trying to buy.
Okay. No.
So you would get that as well. But yeah, that question of like, do you like that you're doing it? This is an addiction question, primarily, or that's kind of where it came from for me, because I used to smoke, and I didn't like that I smoked for a long, long time before I quit. But I don't know that I ever asked the question, do you like that you're doing it? I was just like, oh, I'm a smoker. So whether I
Yeah.
like it or not, it's what I do because it's part of my identity. And here it is, when you say, oh, I'm feeling like a rebel, it's like me. I'm just like, well, I'm a natural contrarian. That's what you're saying. Like you're turning
Yeah.
into, or you have been a contrarian. And the problem is we start identifying with being a contrarian, with being someone that does the opposite, with not liking the pop culture sort of references, by not enjoying like these things. Um, but if we identify as that, then we've already made a decision rather than being in this moment and saying, oh, well, and by being a contrarian, you are observing etiquette. You're just observing the opposite.
Exactly. Yeah, and that I think that was the point I was trying to make. I'm trying to move from being a people pleaser to a rebel, but at the same time, that's as you've just said, that that the rebel is just the opposite of the people pleaser. So I just want to be in the moment and be true to me,
That's right.
and,
Yeah.
and
I
that's
heard
that's
I heard I heard a story once of a secretary who was loyal, always on time, always all this stuff, and then like her husband that she probably wanted to leave for many, many years left her. And so she went to her, therapist, and they were like, well, maybe you need to make some changes. Maybe you need, you're always on time, you're always loyal, you're always like this, you're always that, like everything is by the book for you. Maybe you should, you know, like just not worry about that so much. Change it up. Like maybe you should not worry about getting to work on time. So she changed her life, and from that point forward, she was 10 minutes late every day. And like it wasn't. She was now like her whole life just shifted in a very predictable sort of way for her, right? Like she didn't change
yeah,
anything. Everything is still down to the line, but everything is now, like instead of predictable in one way, it's predictable in another. And it's the
yeah,
same thing.
exactly.
She didn't make any changes. Just like you, like people pleaser. Now you're a rebel. Okay, now you're a different kind. Now you're a people upsetter or whatever, right? And like
Yeah,
like that's just you identifying as that one or the
exactly. Yeah, no. I don't think I'm. Yeah, I think I'm transitioning towards it, but in sort of the process of transitioning, I'm now realised
yeah,
the label that I was associated. I was putting on myself. So
yeah.
it's been wonderful to talk to you, Martin John.
Always,
Thank you
always.
very much. Thank you very much for your the number. I will follow up with you on Monday if that's okay, or
Yeah, yeah.
I'll drop
That's
you an
fine.
email or something,
Whatever.
and then and
Yeah, yeah.
and that would be
I'll
great.
look, and I'll see if I can get a little time on Saturday to look at the site and make sure everything is working properly, and then hopefully on Monday we'll be able to get it all situated.
Oh, well, that's okay. I can send you an email with a screenshot because I think I've still got a screenshot of what
Oh, okay,
happened
good.
or
Yeah,
when
yeah, yeah. I'll
actually.
send you my
So I'll
email
send
as
you that.
well if you don't have it.
I think I've got your email. So, and actually, I
Okay,
actually
good.
penned an email to you. So there is one in my drafts, sort of
Oh,
waiting to go.
okay.
So
Oh,
I'll send that to you.
all right. Well,
Okay.
yeah, lots of stuff. All right, Johnny. Love you. We'll talk next week.
Will do. That's great. Thanks, Martin John.
Ciao.
Have yourself a good weekend.
Yep, you as well.
Thanks.
Oh, it's so great to talk to Johnny because, like, Johnny, like the first time I talked to Johnny, and every time, every Like that's we've connected really nicely, and I think it's nice. And I have to say, like, this is just a thing. Like, it's nice when someone gets it, you know, and and I think Johnny gets it, and I think that that's really beautiful. And it's not like Johnny gets Tao or whatever, but he gets what I'm trying to accomplish or do. I don't know that I'm trying to accomplish anything, but it's like it's nice to be able to be here and just kind of talk and have someone um, kind of get it. And it seems like Johnny has gotten it like right off the bat, and it's something that we have. And he even said like he was inspired to start reading some Tao verses and other things like that. And Tao is a great book, and all of the translations are beautiful. And I think mine is in there with those. And so yeah, that's what we read here. What we were reading was 18, Out of Touch with Tao. When out of touch with Tao, etiquette is observed. That's what Johnny and I were talking about. What is etiquette? Like you start observing etiquette. You start observing these things that you're supposed to do. But the only reason etiquette exists is because we've gotten out of touch with Tao. When etiquette cannot be abided, we find excuses to make it proper. We just find excuses to make our actions proper. We find excuses to make what we're doing proper. We find excuses what we're saying proper. Saying, well, I'm a victim. Da da da. That's where everybody loves that. It's like I'm a victim, so I did this. You hurt me, and so I'm gonna hurt you, and all of that. When excuses gut the family, chaos favors the hierarchy. The hierarchy is, whether it's in the family or in the business or in the country, it's about who is on top, right? And there's people, then there's the police, and then there's like the politicians and ta ta ta. When all neighbors are in chaos, so everybody's in chaos. It's not just the family. It's not just this small town. It's everybody. When everybody is in chaos, and this is everybody in the world and everybody in your town or whatever, blind loyalty is demanded. And that's where, fascism and other things like that come in. Is you have to have blind loyalty for all of those things. And you don't, like you trust that which you are. That's why you have to have blind loyalty, because they're going to be doing things that are going to be hurting people and they want you to look away. And that can happen in your relationships. That can happen in your family. That can happen everywhere. Right. So it's like there's a macro and micro to all of this. And we got to recognize, like, what is the outcome? What is happening here? All right. Well, love you guys. Thank you so much. There is. Oh, Mina Athena. That's great. I got another guest. I'm so excited.
Greetings.
is,
Hello,
is it
Martin.
Mina
How are
Athena?
you? Yes,
I am well. Oh, beautiful. I am well. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's beautiful here this morning. It's
Where is
sunny,
here?
Hudson Valley, New York.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yes, and the sun is shining. It's not too hot. The birds are chirping,
I hear
and
that.
I
Yeah.
am in a relaxed, just in the flow mood.
Oh, very good. Well, do you know Tao of the Day? I think we've talked before.
Yes, I think we've talked once.
Yeah.
I've popped in and listened. I really enjoy your show.
Oh, thank you. I'm just
You're
I'm just
welcome.
soaking that in. It's been a big thing for me over the last year and a half to learn to receive, and taking a little time to receive praise or receive love or whatever is just it's an important step. So, would you like to pick a number between 1 and 81?
Ooh, I'm picking a number now.
Yeah.
Huh. I've got lots. When I used to play roulette, which I don't because that could be a danger in itself, it was
Yeah.
1, 4, 5, 7, 11, 10, 14, 21, and 22. but
Okay.
but my number today would probably be 77
77.
or 21, which is the day I was born.
Um, All right. So, all right, I'll read you the titles and you tell me which one you would prefer.
You know what? Do 21 because my birthday just passed a few days ago. And
Oh, well, happy
yes.
birthday.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so 21 is entitled Tao is Not Temporary.
Nice.
And it reads, the master is at peace, knowing she is of manifestation, and that manifestations are always temporary. Knowing this, she always follows Tao. How can she be at peace knowing she is temporary? Because she doesn't cling to her life or ideas, and still she is fulfilled. Tao cannot be fathomed or known. How can she follow it? She allows it to lead her from moment to moment. Tao is, and is always, even before the manifestation of time and space. Tao is beyond both temporary and forever. How do I know this to be true? The evidence is within me as it is within you.
I love it.
So, what are your initial thoughts, or what's something that popped out to you?
I thought of nature going in the flow, the seasons, um, that no matter if you're on the mountaintop or in the valley, if you can keep your sense of calm and know that this is the spiritual walk in this human experience,
Yeah,
then all will always be well. And keeping that awareness always present, uh, with the ego sleeping at the corner,
yeah,
that life is beautiful despite the storms, because it's the storms and the rain that brings forth the flowers. So it's that awareness, the awakening, and always intentionally being aware and living in that space that nothing can shake you, so to speak.
yeah,
It's like the tree that is weathering the storm and becoming stronger by the wind.
yeah.
Uh,
Being tempered. Yeah.
yeah, being tempered and becoming stronger and more resilient
Hmm.
instead of trying and being in fear, like, oh, the wind's gonna break me and all that
Right.
BS, just being in the flow and allowing it to happen, whatever it is, and not being attached to it. I think it's the combination of not being attached, but being always aware,
Yeah,
like a spiritual warrior, and also being incredibly conscious of where you put your attention to, and where you put your focus to, and what you decide not to focus on brings you joy uh, or dissonance.
yeah. You know, there's a word in here that I think is relating to all of this stuff that you're saying, and that's temporary. Even this too shall pass.
Yes, and
So no
that's the
matter,
mantra. Yes.
right. So no matter where we are, and so this verse, like the whole first, 2/3 of this verse, really kind of address these two things. One, the master is at peace, knowing she is of manifestation, knowing she has a body, and this body is she is here in the manifestation, but all manifestations are temporary. She knows that. She knows that she, as this body and mind, like that is temporary. Knowing this, she always follows Tao because Tao is not temporary. Tao is part of her as well. So she has these two parts of her, one of which is the world of manifestation and the temporariness, and one is Tao. And then it goes into the next lines where they ask the question, how can she be at peace knowing she's temporary? Well, because she doesn't cling to her life or the ideas that she has. Like her mind and body are forfeit. They're temporary. So no matter what is happening right now, if I'm on the mountaintop or if I'm here, like I can be at peace with the manifestation and not follow my mind into this is going to end one day, or oh, this is so bad, or this is this, or like I'm thinking about the future, I'm thinking about the past and all of that. I can just be here and appreciate this.
Yes.
And then it says that after that, because she doesn't cling to her life or ideas, and still she is fulfilled. And that's the thing. We feel like our fulfillment is going to come from what we think is going to give us fulfillment. We, I'm gonna work out and I'm gonna feel better. I'm gonna be sexier. I'm gonna feel better. I'm gonna have a boyfriend or girlfriend, and I'm gonna have a high paying job, and I'm gonna feel better, and all of that, without clinging to any of those things, any of your ideas, any of your ego, like you said, ego asleep in the corner. Without clinging to any of that, she still finds fulfillment, while everybody else is like chasing it. Right?
I
And
think
then
it's the
go on.
lack of chasing
Yeah,
that things come to you.
that's
When
right.
you,
Receive.
it's the irony of life. It's
Yes.
that, it's the mystery of the yin and yang. It's
Yeah.
when you stop chasing, then the things you want come to you. When you stop wanting,
Mm,
then you receive everything you need.
that's right.
um, and it's that balance of not wanting. um, I can't explain it. It's,
No.
yes, there are places I want to travel. I would love to meet the soulmate of my dreams, but if I don't have it, so what? I'm still happy. I'm not gonna wait until the thing becomes, because I am.
That's oh
And
yes, I am. Period. I
period.
am. Period. There is nothing after that because
Yeah.
I am.
And even living in this uh, temporary body,
Mhm.
it's again that push and pull of, yes, we are having this very fleeting experience called life on earth,
Mhm.
yet the certainty that in in the core of my being, in the soul of my souls, that I am eternal, and
Mhm.
that can't be questioned in me, because I've done that deep search within myself and throughout all the wisdoms, and I'm still searching. That once I stop searching, everything
Mm.
integrated, and it's
That's
like,
yes.
wow,
Yes.
holy shit, okay,
That's right.
like I get it. And the things, the parts of me have recalibrated,
Mhm.
and life is good. And it's all in the mind. If you think life is a race, life will become a race. if,
Mhm.
if you think, you know life is hard, you are intentionally making it hard subconsciously
Yeah.
by living that belief that life is hard.
And you will see
So
everything as hard, and you will see things that others see as easy as hard. It,
yes.
it. I've been working with a friend of mine, and her husband and her usually work together, and then I started helping, and I am easy and he is hard. And she went home one day and was just like, it's so great working with Martin, Jesus Christ, like that's it's like we just get things done so quick and everything, and like never a problem. And so now when they work together, he has been better. Like she's like, I think he's a little jealous because like he's changing, because he's starting to see, like, even if there's a problem, it's not a problem. It's
Yeah,
like you make it a problem.
it's as simple as that.
Yeah. Like
But it's
this
as
isn't a problem.
difficult as that. I mean, it's
Right.
the mystery. Yes.
There's a line in the Tao that says, the master knows that life is full of problems, so problems are no problem for her.
Yes.
Like that idea of like, no, this isn't a problem. This is life.
Dr. Howard Mandel said, in his book, Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. Um, Rule number one, don't sweat the small stuff. Rule number two, it's all small stuff.
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Going back to this 21, like after we talk about knowing that she is part of manifestation, it says she always follows Tao because she knows that everything's temporary. So then the question comes up, the Tao can't be fathomed or known. So how can she follow it? She allows it to lead her from moment to moment. Once again, just receiving every moment as it is. And
Yes.
then responding to that moment that she received as need be without her trying to predict what she's going to do in the next moment. you know
Yes.
and and then this wraps up with just this reminder that Tao is everything. Tao is and is always. Even before the manifestation of time and space, Tao is beyond both temporary and forever. How do I know it's true? The evidence is within me, as it is within you. And we just have to be still.
Yes. And what you were saying with the gentleman before,
Hmm.
I believe his name was Johnny,
Yep.
about labels.
Mm.
I think labels can be very dangerous. Um, when you say, I am a Democrat or I
Mhm.
only believe in this, that's where you are closing yourself in a box.
Every time. If you
Yes.
finish I am with anything other than a period, it's just a box. And you can make a 1,000-page book just saying all the things you are, and you're still smaller than
Yeah.
I am.
And whatever you say, I am this or I am that, you could prove yourself
Yep.
and write a 1,000-page book
Yep.
on either side, because
Yep.
you'll always get the you know the people who agree and the people who disagree. But
Yeah.
it's that really that tiptoeing on that beautiful curvy line of the yin yang sign, where you can
Mm.
jump out of duality and be in the present moment and just be a part of nature and breathe with the rhythm of life, truly.
Yeah. Such a beautiful. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's a
It's always
pleasure.
it's always wonderful to connect with you.
Same here. Have a
Mm.
beautiful, wonderful weekend.
Will do. Will do. Sending all my love. Have a wonderful day. And we're gonna bring up Sparkly Queen, and I'll probably pick another number. What a great day! Wow, we have covered some stuff today. How fun! How are you?
I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
Was just going in the dumps because I lost my family member.
Oh, I'm
And,
sorry.
yeah, I just
Well,
lost a family member this month, so I have to go to the funeral June 1st.
okay. Um,
Mhm.
are they? Is it like a immediate family member or someone that's a little more distant?
No, it's my first cousin.
Oh, okay. Oh, my first cousins. I have a number of first cousins in Spain, and if I were to lose them, that'd be very difficult for me. So, death
Mhm.
is. We were just talking with Mina Athena, and I were just talking about like death and the idea that it is, and actually Johnny and I before Mina Athena came on, we were talking about not being afraid of death because it's what we're born to do. We're not gonna get out of here alive, and I really hope your first cousin didn't experience a lot of pain or violence in that
Well,
in
my
their
cousin name is Brandon, and
brain.
Brandon, he was a good person, and he defended everybody, you know.
Yeah.
Mm.
And
But oh, go ahead.
no, and so let's. How old was Brandon? Did I lose you?
I'm sorry about that.
That's all right.
My internet connection. I don't know what
Oh, is
happened.
it? Oh, okay. I was wondering how old was Brandon?
Brandon was like 36.
36. Well, let's look at number 36 for Brandon today.
Okay.
All right. And it says, if you want to take a deep breath, you must first empty your lungs. If you want to make something weak, then observe it first as powerful. If you want something destroyed, then see it first glorified. Identify your rigid desires and meet them with flexibility. The soft overcomes the hard, the slow overtakes the fast. Just quietly going about your business, and the results will speak for themselves. What did Brandon do?
He was a protector. He made sure he protected his family.
Uh huh.
You know, he looked out for us, and he was I'm sorry, he was a good
No, please.
person.
Yeah.
And we're gonna miss him. All of
Yeah.
us, the family, we're gonna miss him so much. And that was deep because you need to take a deep breath. Breathe. That's deep
Yeah. You know, I,
in
I,
the
I, I I
long
think that line is really important because, like, what it says, you
run.
must first empty your lungs, and Brandon's lungs are empty at this moment.
Yes,
You know, and when we look at that, it's like, oh, this is this is the deep breath of death. You know, this is the deepest. Like he is connected to, like, I can see that, like, just the body floating down. You know, like emptying the lungs. You must first empty your lungs in order to take this deep breath. You know,
yeah,
and it says the next line, which is so amazing, is if you want to make something weak, which we can't, we have to recognize that in death we don't have strength. You
I
must
know
first
he's not.
you
I know
must
he's not.
first observe it as powerful, which you did. Everybody and he observed it as powerful. He was a powerful protector,
Yes,
you know? And now, and it's not, and this is all about, we need to recognize everything. We need to recognize the entire scale. You know, Brandon lived his life in a certain place, you know, and he had desires to protect his family and to um, provide for his family. And those desires needed to be met with flexibility. He had to do that. He did not treat you the same way he treated other people. He did not treat, maybe he treated you all with respect, but he knew you were individuals and you all had different relationships with him. That's not to say he didn't love you all, because of course he did, but he was flexible in the way that he loved you.
right.
And
Everything
that's
you
it.
said about Brandy was so true. But
Yeah,
can I get a number for myself?
please do.
Okay, I picked the number from 1 through 100,
81.
right?
81.
Oh, 81. I would say number um 19.
Okay, off we go. Number 19 says, don't aspire to be holy or smart. You will finally find happiness. Don't inquire about morality or justice. You will finally be perfect. Don't create things in order to profit. You will finally be secure. If all that fails to inspire you, stay as humble and simple as possible, and at least you won't be selfish. So, what this is
Thank
talking
you.
about is really interesting because what we see here is like, maybe, like this idea of like where, like happiness is something that is deeper than being happy, you know? Happiness, like deep happiness. When we find happiness in our lives, it's something that is more than having a cookie. A cookie can make us happy, but that's not going to continue. It's once we eat the cookie, it's over. So here it's like it's looking at that cookie as being holy or being smart, and being holy just means being spiritual in a way um, that is overt, in a way that like you're trying to be holy or trying to be spiritual. But it's like, no, stop trying to do those things and be you and cry because Brandon passed. Allow yourself to just be in this moment without having to be anything other than you are. Don't inquire about morality or justice. I don't know how Brandon passed, but it's okay.
Brandon passed from a heart attack.
Okay.
He had a heart attack.
Okay. So we don't have to inquire about the idea that like, oh, is it okay that Brandon passed? Yes, it is okay that Brandon passed. It's not, maybe we don't think it's fair, but that's what this is saying. It's don't inquire about fairness. It doesn't have to be fair. Because if you don't inquire about fairness, then it's like, oh, this happened. It's unfortunate, but I will receive this experience. And this doesn't mean we don't cry, but we'll be okay. This doesn't mean it doesn't hurt, but even if it does hurt, it's okay. And then it says, like, if all that fails, stay humble and simple as possible, and at least you won't be selfish. And what that means in your situation is that you're going to be going to the funeral, and there are going to be people that are hurting. You're going to be hurting. But if we can stay simple and not make it complex, not make it about us, not make sure that we stay humble and recognize that we loved Brandon and Brandon loved us, and it doesn't, it's not as if Brandon only loved us.
Right.
And there were people that are going to hurt deeper than we
Oh
are.
my God. Yes. Yes.
And if we step in there and make it about us, then we're forgetting Brandon. And we're forgetting all the
Right.
people that Brandon touched.
I gotta drop down, but I'm listening.
That's okay.
I'm crying. I
That's
gotta
okay. Yeah,
cry.
yeah, yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, you go get it crying. Go get it. I love you. Thank you. Yes. All of these have something to say to us. This one is entitled Real Education. It's not about going to school and getting a grade. It's not about being smart or being holy or being right or having levels of morality or justice or fairness that we can achieve. It says here, you will finally be perfect, just as you are. And if all that fails to inspire you, stay humble, stay as humble and simple as possible. Recognize that you're not the only one. And if you can do that, then you won't be selfish. There are going to be people that are going to be selfish. And when that selfishness comes up, it's going to be obvious. All right. I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Thank you guys so much for joining me. This is Martin John. And this was Tao of the Day. We covered quite a bit today. I know I covered a number. I forget what number that was. And Johnny and I talked about 18. Athena came on for 21. And Sparkly Queen, we read 36 for Brandon and 19 for her. Thank you so much for joining me for Tao of the Day. If you benefit from this, you can always send a tip over to me on Venmo at John_Garcia. And until next time, keep recovering yourself.